Welcome to Brandon's Adventures of Superman. And now, here is your host, Brandon Coles.
Hello everyone, once again this is Brandon. I'm reviewing each episode of the Adventures of Superman series starring George Reeves. In this episode we will review the 4th and 5th episodes of the series entitled Mystery of the Broken Statues and the Monkey Mystery. As always for my podcast I consult mainly these two books. Flights of Fantasy, the unauthorized but true story of radio and TV's Adventures of Superman by Michael J. Hayde, and the George Reeves Adventures of Superman Companion by Peter S. Moreno. Mystery of the Broken Statues premiered on October the 10th, 1952. Its director was Tommy Carr and teleplay by William Joyce. The following are the guest stars, and some are already familiar. Tris Coffin as Paul Martin, Philip Pine as Dorn, Michael Valiant as Mr. Benelli, Maurice Cass as the owner of Ellie's gift shop, Joey Ray as Dart, and Wade Crosby as Pete. In this episode, Clark uses his super intellect to solve the puzzle of why criminals are going around to shops buying cheap animal statues and breaking them at the scene. Some of those broken statues included a acorn, small dried up onion, a safety pin, a toy car, a plastic cow, a dollar bill, 3 pennies, and a key found by Lois, who bought some of the figures. Lois is kidnapped after buying the statues. Lois hid the key she found in her lipstick, and Paul Mountain found the key while he had Lois hostage. Henchmen took Lois to a plane where Superman rescued her. Clark figures out what all this means with the help of Lois and Inspector Henderson present. The items found were part of a rebus which uses pictures in a place of words to form a phrase. Clark's solution is MPO97, which the three play with it more, taking it to be PO97M, which is Post Office Box 97 Main Branch. Paul Martin took the key to the post office, and Inspector Henderson caught Martin there. They found inside a stolen ruby. Thoughts on facts and trivia. Besides Clark figuring out what happening with his mind, my favorite part is when Lois had been kidnapped, and in an attempt to get away, she smashes Paul Martin over the head. I think she showed courage for her to do that. It surprised me a little since Paul had blood on his head. I don't know if in the 1950s they showed a lot of blood on TV, but I've been told there were a lot of shooting and dying on TV at the time. I recently saw a George Reeves quote on Facebook that said, "Our idea is to give children good entertainment without all the guts and blood and gore. We think the series should teach them something too. That's why I've decided to do this." Other thoughts. Bloopers. 3 different airplanes are seen as the henchman's airplane. Final thoughts. George's Clark was more serious and eager to take action against wrong. Christopher Reeve's Clark was more comedic and afraid. I think both are great and the best 2 Clarks out there. George proves in this episode that Clark can be a confident and hero that way. Christopher's Clark was also a hero because, if you remember, he saved Lois from a bullet. If you hadn't gathered it, George Reeves and Christopher Reeve are my favorite Superman of all time. My rating for this episode is 10.0, and Peter Moreno has a 9.5. IMDb has a 7.3. Now let's move to the Monkey Mystery. The original broadcast for the episode was October the 17th, 1952. The writers for the episode were Ben Peter Freeman and Doris Gilbert. It was directed by Tommy Carr. Guest stars were Alan Roberts as Maria Molesky, Harry Lewis as Harold Crane, Michael Valiant as Tony Yermetti, William Chaley as Max, Stephen Carr as the doctor and the voice of the sergeant, Fred Essler as the scientist, Jane Molesky, and Ned Roberts as Frisk. Short summary, a pet monkey of an organ grinder is used to help get atomic secrets out of the United States. The microfilm that contains atomic defense formula is taken from the daughter of the scientist that invented it. Superman must step in and use the monkey to save the day. The episode starts off in Central Europe, where a scientist named Jan Molesky, who has come up with the atomic defense formula, is being hunted by the secret police, as he is an enemy of the state. He is running with his daughter, Maria. Before he dies, he sends her to the United States with a locket that contains the microfilm that contains the defense formula. Enemy agents contact Harold Crane in Metropolis. He will be paid to get the formula back out of the States. Harold Crane uses the organ grinder and his monkey to transport messages on how to obtain the formula. The grinder and the monkey are on the streets, and the monkey gives Lois her fortune. The note that was meant for Crane is given to Lois by the monkey. The organ grinder remembers the note and writes it down and gives it to the monkey to take up a pipe to Crane. Crane has the iron organ grinder killed because he may be a risk. Harold Crane and his henchmen catch up to Maria and get the locket, and Lois is knocked out in the process, as well as Maria. Both are okay at the end of the episode. Superman investigates and finds the monkey, and in turn he leads him to the Crane office up the pipe, as he did with when he took the message of the organ grinder to Harold Crane, Harold Crane. Yes, I was just wanting to say Harry. Some trivia in this episode: a scene of whipping Jane Molesky was deleted. This episode reuses 3 actors from The Haunted Lighthouse. Eileen Roberts, who played Alice in the episode, Bill Chaley, who played Mike, and Steve Carr, the Coast Guard commander. The organ grinder, Michael Vallon, appeared in the previous episode, Mystery of the Broken Statues, as the shopkeeper Benelli. And Inspector Henderson is mentioned in this episode, but does not appear in this adventure. I rated the episode a 9. Peter Moreno rated it a 9. And IMDb gives it 7.2. And it seems to me that IMDb always gives a lower rating than myself or Peter Moreno. I'd like to say I appreciate the ones listening to this. I'm not a pro, but I'm just doing it for fun, and I appreciate you listening. To get more in-depth reviews, go to supermanhomepage.com. And to follow me on social media, go to Facebook and type Brandon's Adventures of Superman podcast into the search field. And I am on Twitter at PackerBAC.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Brandon's Adventures of Superman. Be sure to tune in next time. But until then, up, and away!